going on, wrestling community? This is the Five Starr Wrestling Report channel, and I'm here to try and kickstart this channel back up again. Started the channel back in 2019, sort of left it hanging for a year or so while the bug ran roughshod over the world and also made professional wrestling almost unbearable to watch in every capacity. But it would seem that things are back to semi-normal now. That is, until our all-empowering, omniscient leaders declare that things are not back to normal again. And anyway, I've started to get the urge to get back into wrestling and start reviewing content again. The channel is very new, so if you could do me a favor and support me in every possible way as I try to gain some traction here on YouTube, would greatly appreciate it. Subscribe to my channel, click the little bell icon to stay updated on new content releases. Give this video a like if you don't mind. And, most importantly, just leave a comment. Talk to me about anything on your mind, whether it's video related or not. I'd love to hear from the wrestling community and try to get some conversations going here. I think it's been far too long since our culture has been able to rationally have discussions with one another. In addition to my channel here on YouTube, you can also find me on Rumble. Link to that is on my main channel, and I'm going to also leave a link in the description below. Everything uploaded there are just going to be duplicate copies of my YouTube content, but it's also a safe haven in case YouTube decides to randomly deem one of my videos inappropriate for any particular reason. It's a dangerous time that we live in, where it seems that all the big tech is cracking down on free speech and not letting people freely speak their minds on social media platforms. So that's why I like to ensure that I keep my content out there on a platform that actually advocates for free-minded thinkers and actually values my God-given rights. But I'll jump off my soapbox now, because we are here to talk about NXT and AEW. NXT being from August 3rd, which is this past Tuesday, and AEW Dynamite from August 4th. This was also tallied as AEW Dynamite Homecoming. So, I don't really have a transition planned here, so let's just jump right into the recaps here. I will start with NXT from August 3rd, 2021. Quick rundown of last week's events. Dakota Kai turned heel on Raquel Gonzalez. Kyle O'Reilly basically killed Adam Cole with a brainbuster on the steel steps. And Samoa Joe had signed his reinstatement clause to get back on the active roster and faced Karrion Kross for the NXT title at the upcoming TakeOver event. Opening match here, Ashanti the Adonis and Top Dollar versus Raul Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde. Jesus Christ, who comes up with these names? Like, seriously, can you believe they actually pay someone to do that here? Match was fine. They did a lot of moves, which, let's be frank, it's pretty much the best way to describe most professional wrestling matches these days. I like this Top Dollar fella. The Hit Row faction's not really my cup of tea, but a lot of people dig them, so whatever. They're charismatic. They seem to enjoy what they're doing. Can't fault them for that. So they do the match. Top Dollar got a hot tag, ran wild at the end. He's just throwing dudes around, just doing what big guys do best in professional wrestling. And this all leads to Santos hitting Top Dollar across the back for the lame DQ with a steel chair. They did a big brawl sequence with the heels teasing that they were going to lay out Swerve Scott with a chair. Presumably, this all to set up Escobar versus Scott for the North American title. Like I said, the Hit Row faction's just not really my flavor, but if the idea here is to make a megastar out of Top Dollar, I'd say they're on the right track. It would probably make sense for him and Adonis to go after the tag belts at some point, which, now that I think about it, I have completely forgotten who the NXT tag champs are. Pretty sure they weren't on the show, which is why I can't think off the top of my head. Let me see here. This is why we come prepared for these recaps, folks. NXT Tag Team Champions. Oh, yeah, that's right, MSK. Right, because they beat Thatcher and Ciampa for the belts at the last takeover, and I remember being very saddened at that match. We had William Regal assigning security to follow Samoa Joe around, presumably to prevent a brawl. Right. We had Dexter Lumis drawing. Maybe that's why the dude doesn't win any matches, because he's too busy drawing cartoons all day. Ridge Holland versus Ikemenjiro, something like that. God almighty, these ring names. So they showed a recap of Holland's return last week. If y'all remember that gruesome leg injury last year that basically put Holland out of action for, I think it was it an entire year or close to that? I don't know. They were giving him a big push at the time, I remember that. Anyway, Holland, I guess he has now aligned himself with Pete Dunne and Oney Lorcan, which, now that I think about it, wasn't Lorcan the one responsible for Holland's injury to begin with? So why the hell is Holland aligned with him now? No idea. Anyway, Holland squashed Gyro. No further comment. And, by the way, they gave Pete Dunne a live mic in this segment. Yeah, don't do that. They had a backstage skit with Frankie Monet, Robert Stone, and a tall brunette, as my notes read. I think that was Jessie Kamea. Anyway, I didn't really note anything of great value here. Apparently, she's trying to rebuild the Robert Stone brand. Cool. Trey Baxter hype promo, to which my notes merely read 205 live bound. And if you think I'm wrong, give it 2 years. Bobby Fish versus Roderick Strong. Very fine professional wrestling match, I thought. I would not say that it was anything more than that. It's weird. Okay, let me try and follow the timeline here, because I've sort of been in and out of watching NXT for the last month or so. Like, I watch the program, but, sometimes I miss weeks, or, sometimes there's content that I just completely neglect because reasons. So I'm going to try and go over this real quick. So I remember the deal they did in February where Adam Cole super kicked Kyle O'Reilly and basically left him for dead after his takeover match with Balor. Roddy basically played the innocent bystander for a while. He tried to figure out, what the hell was going on with all this. So he wasn't really picking or choosing sides. Then Adam Cole came out and left Roddy for dead. To my knowledge, I don't think we ever got an actual singles match between those two. So Roddy went to Regal and basically threw in the towel, said, "I'm done." And he was gone for a while. Then Bobby Fish came back from his injury and didn't really do anything of note. Then Roddy came back with Malcolm Bivens in this Diamond Mine faction and started targeting Kushida. And I don't even know. Somehow we have gotten to where we are now with Roddy and Fish feuding. If you even want to call this a feud, I don't even know. Like, am I missing something here? I feel like this Undisputed Era breakup is missing like 12 steps of plot development. Why hasn't Roddy come back to target Adam Cole? Why hasn't Bobby Fish come back to target Adam Cole? Why is Roddy jumping from one faction to another with no rhyme or reason? Why are Bobby Fish and Roderick Strong mad at each other? Why am I asking questions that no WWE writer could possibly be thinking of right now? And speaking of the Diamond Mine deal, I'm still not sold on it. I do appreciate that we were given at least some sort of explanation for how this group came to be. Although if you follow NXT, the teammates make virtually no sense. And I like Malcolm Bivens and all, but it's like, would you believe in any world that Roderick Strong would hang out with Tyler Rust or whoever the hell that other guy is? This whole thing is so weird. Cameron Grimes in the Butler outfit and LA Knight versus the Grizzled Young Veterans, who always look like they just smelled a fart for some reason. As strange as it might sound, the Grimes Drake deal might be my favorite NXT rivalry in 2021 right now. Like granted, there's a lot of hokiness to what they're doing, but if you actually just sit down and think about it for a minute, they're having what I would classify as a very old school professional wrestling feud. You got a clear-cut babyface that the people like. You got a clear-cut heel that people boo consistently. You got Ted DiBiase just being awesome. Everyone plays their roles perfectly. And moreover, their entire rivalry is wrapped around a championship title, with the idea being you want to see Cameron Grimes eventually win this $1 million championship. And by the way, I should note, because I didn't get to review it, the ladder match that Drake and Grimes had earlier this year is just probably my favorite ladder match I've seen in God knows how long. So hats off to these two. They've really been making the most out of this feud. So anyway, the match was not all that noteworthy. They did some wrestling for a while. Grimes ran wild, got a hot tag, tried to tag back in Drake, but Drake jumped down from the apron, left Grimes for dead. Oh, wait, what? Why do I keep calling him Drake? Sorry about that. I still want to call him Eli Drake for some reason. Probably because the LA Knight name is such a stupid name. Anyway, Knight jumped down from the apron, left Grimes for Drake and Gibson to pick up the scraps, and then GYV hit that stupid fucking tombstone pile driver for the win. That also might have been the problem here. We had the former Eli Drake, now going by LA Knight, and we had an actual person in this match whose name had Drake in it. So that's why I was confusing myself here. They did an inset where Dakota Kai explained her turn on Raquel last week. It was a good video, I thought. They pretty much laid out the plot line over the last year and basically concluded that Raquel was so in over her head that she never saw Dakota waiting in the wings to take her out. It was still kind of out of left field, but, Dakota's at least talented enough to make the explanation seem natural, so I didn't have a problem with this. Trey Baxter versus Joe Gacy in an NXT Breakout Tournament match. Yeah, they brought this back because, it went so well for them when they tried it 2 years ago. Gacy's got the old school rugged mean guy look, so of course they put Baxter over. I guess I should try to be constructive in some way here instead of just shitting on the tournament idea altogether. Let me just say this. I guess I'm just confused as to what the whole purpose of the tournament is. Like, when they first announced this thing in 2019, I had thought that everyone was gunning for a contract. But somewhere along the way, they had announced that the winner of the tournament would get a title shot against any champion they wanted. So, well, of course, what happens is everyone in the tournament gets a contract, and the whole thing is completely pointless. But as far as I know, they still haven't really announced what's at stake in this tournament. Are we to presume that the winner gets a contract? Did they get a title shot? I still don't know. Plus, I'm not so hot about the talent they have in this thing. Just, I don't know. I didn't like the idea when they did it 2 years ago, and they brought it back, and I'm still not sold on it. We had a wacky skit with Zoe Stark and Io Shirai eating at Sushi Tomo. Anyone from the Pittsburgh area would know what I'm talking about. Camera crew professionally filming and all. And like I said, been on and off with NXT for a few weeks now. I believe the story they're trying to tell here is that Zoe wants to be friends with Io because they're tag partners and champions, I believe. And Io doesn't want to be friends because, well, she's an asshole. So they did some goofy comedy where Zoe orders the same food that Io does. Of course, Zoe has never had sushi before, so she gags a lot, throws the food around because it tastes horrible. And long story short, Io leaves Zoe with the bill. The waitress is apparently from Kansas. This sucked. Mackenzie Mitchell interviewed Indy Hartwell about the main event. Don't really know what was said. I was just glad to see two females on the show with normal colored hair. We had Karrion Kross coming out to scream at Samoa Joe on the announce table. Joe stormed out, kicked the crap out of his security team. He dripped a lot of sweat on the dudes, lots of heavy breathing, and that was pretty much it. And I will say this, for a feud between two big, intense dudes, I can confidently say that I'm really not feeling this one. And to be honest with you, this was also before I saw Karrion Kross do a job to Jeff Hardy on Raw in 2 minutes. Just, I don't know. Something about this one's just not clicking with me. Promo package for Walter versus Ilya Dragunov at TakeOver. Yeah, apparently they're doing this match at 36 on SummerSlam weekend. It was a great video. You know, they did everything they could to make me want to see Ilya beat Walter for the belt. And, if we had more stuff like this instead of the crap like we got in the main event, I would probably be more optimistic about the direction of professional wrestling in 2021. Speaking of said main event, Johnny Gargano versus Dexter Lumis in a love her or lose her match. Because, I guess the 24-year-old Indy Hartwell cannot legally consent or make decisions as to whom she wants to fuck. Or something ridiculous like that. You know, like the idea that a pinfall victory can decide the fate of true love in a man and a woman. If only it were that simple. And God bless Beth Phoenix, bro. She may have been the only human being breathing the planet Earth that gave two shits about this. Well, that's not fair. The crowd, for some reason, did care about this. Anyway, they did a match, and I have no idea. They did stuff. That's the best way that I can describe it. There is a spot in this match where Indy went underneath the ring to, I guess, retrieve Dexter, because Dexter has this gimmick where he just kind of slides out of the ring like a snake and disappears under the ring for 30 seconds. I don't know. Anyway, so yeah, Indy's under the ring. Johnny and Candice go to pull her out, but she has a grip on Dexter's wrists. This was, of course, the break spot and not a DQ. Anyway, they came back, they kept wrestling. It's not important. Long story short, people, the payoff that they were building up to here was whether or not Indy and Dexter were finally going to get together and fuck on live television. Or something stupid like that. And the idea is that we are supposed to want to see Dexter beat Johnny so that he can be with Indy. So, fast forward to the end, Johnny hits Dexter with a springboard DDT and pins him clean. And the show ends with Indy teasing that she was going to go to the back with Johnny and Candice, but instead turns back to the ring, bolts into the ring, leaps on top of Dexter to make out with him, which was totally fake. And I think Beth legitimately creamed herself. The heart wants what the heart wants, or so I'm told. So, yeah, that was a lame payoff. But hey, I won't lie, the fans liked it. I mean, the mere positive that I can find here is thank God this story looks to be over. An amateur love angle for high school kids with a flatline payoff. And yes, for the record, people, this is what they are doing with Johnny Gargano in 2021. So, yeah, that was NXT for this week. Perhaps not the best show for me to make my return to recap, but hey, it is what it is, man. NWA or Mid-South Wrestling, this was not, but hey, as much as I've been complaining about too many storylines having to be dropped in NXT because of all the random ass call ups, this might have actually been the first NXT storyline of the year where they actually built something up for a period of time and paid it off, sending the fans happy. So, on that note, I will give it a thumbs up, but suffice it to say, I am not a fan of the Index storyline. And when I look back at this program 10 years from now, I do not think that I will have changed my mind on it. And from one wacky goofball wrestling company to another, let's go over AEW Dynamite from August 4th. Chris Jericho versus Juventud Guerrera, with the stipulation added that in order for Jericho to win, he has to hit a move off of the top rope. Okay. Well, that sucked. Dude. Jericho was so bad in this match. I know a lot of people are going to be harping on Hoovy here. You know, dude hasn't wrestled on mainstream TV in almost 15 years. I'm not even all that concerned about him. Jericho, on the other hand, dude, he is such a physical wreck. He looks so burnt out now. You know, and for the people that are going to try and cultivate some BS story about how, well, Jericho should be exhausted because, he's been wrestling in these labor matches and he just got off a week where he wrestled a death match. Yeah, wrestled a death match. Give me a break. And the same people that are going to come up with that excuse are the same people that would probably sit there and defend Jon Moxley and Eddie Kingston when they were supposedly killed after being in a ring when it exploded, and then meanwhile they were seen on Dynamite 3 days later drinking. And Moxley was completely no-selling the effects of the match anyway. So, humor me. Anyway, dude, I think the best thing for Jericho right now is to get through this Labor Series, have the match with MJF, and just write Jericho off of TV for a while. Or, at the very least, let the dude do some commentary for a while or take a backstage role. Like this dude should not be wrestling in his current state. He looks like he has a bad case of insomnia or something like that. Like, I'm not trying to be a dick about it. I'm just saying, like, come on, people, look at him. Like, you compare Chris Jericho right now to where he was even in New Japan, dude looks horrible. And like I said, the match was also horrible. Lots of botches, miscues, awkward pauses, just could not get on the same page to save their lives. Finish was pretty cool. I'm glad that Jericho didn't do something stupid like a lion salt or anything. Just he hit a Judas effect in the middle of the ring, realized he couldn't pin Hoovy, and then said, oh, fuck it, I'll just do one from the top rope. And after the bell, Wardlow jumped Chris. He beat the crap out of him. He also beat the crap out of Hoovy too, which I thought was kind of funny. And that is when we get the announcement that has, for some reason, left a bunch of people in great confusion. MJF says that in the fourth labor match, it's going to be Chris Jericho versus Wardlow, with MJF ensuring that the match is called fair and square. And this somehow has led to this huge uproar and argument over what MJF actually meant in this segment. Some people interpret it as him saying that he's going to be the special guest referee. Others were saying that he would just be accompanying Wardlow ringside. And, I watched the segment back twice just to make sure I didn't mishear it or anything like that, because God knows I zone out on watching some of these AEW shows sometimes. But no, I did not mishear him. He was crystal clear with what he said. MJF said that he was going to be there to call the match fair and square. So would that not imply that MJF is going to be the special guest referee? And again, I could have misheard, but didn't JR say Friedman the ref right before they cut away? So I don't know what the hell is going on here. I mean, it also didn't help that later on in the program, they actually announced the match as Wardlow versus Chris Jericho with MJF at ringside. So, I mean, even AEW can't keep up with their own stipulations. I don't know what's going on. Someone royally screwed something up. So, just to recap real quick here. In this Labor Series, we have gone from a singles match with an Inner Circle member to a death match to a Relive WCW rivalry match to another singles match with an Inner Circle member, with the added stipulation that MJF is just going to be there ringside. Which, okay. All right. I mean, I think most of us are ready for this Pinnacle Inner Circle feud to be over anyway, so hey, if this is what you got to do to get the Jericho and MJF, fine. Just do whatever you have to move these guys on to different programs, please. We get a backstage skit with the Lucha Bros, Andrade and Chavo. Apparently, and I could be wrong here because, again, it's hard to follow half the crap that goes on with this show, but I thought initially that Andrade wanted a match with the Death Triangle, specifically Pac. Now their story is that Andrade is trying to recruit them into working for him. Also, here's another follow-up question that maybe someone can help me out with here. When did Andrade ditch Vicky as his manager for Chavo? Did I miss like 6 shows where they blew off a storyline? Or is this just another case of one of those, well, we're the fans and we're stupid, so we'll just either ignore it or forget about it altogether? Anyway, much like my initial thoughts on Miro when he first debuted, not really a big fan of what they're doing with Andrade right now. They did a skit where Hangman Page dumped all the Dark Order bums. Thank Christ for that. Darby Allin, Jon Moxley, and Eddie Kingston squashed 3 geeks. Pretty sure 2 of them were the former Ever-Eyes of NXT fame. Nothing more to really say about that. Following this, they had a video package going over the Ricky Starks-Brian Cage deal. Love me some Ricky Starks, but the whole Team Taz deal is just, well, it's very 2000 WCW-esque. Like, let's put a faction together, have them work as a cohesive unit for like 2 weeks, start a breakup tease, do the breakup on the same show, and then wonder why no one cares after the fact. By the way, did I mishear in this segment Brian Cage say that he never wanted to be the FTW champion? Way to make your belts feel prestigious, guys. We had the Elite backstage acting like dorks and playing basketball. I wrote no notes here. Other than this minute detail, their current world champion and supposed top guy was wearing a Cookie Monster t-shirt. Get it? Because, CM Punk. It's an omen. Christian Cage versus The Blade. The Blade. Yeah. This is what they're doing with Christian right now. I mean, match was fine. Don't really have a whole lot to say about it. Never really understood what people saw in Pepper Parks, Braxton Sutter, Blade, whatever indie name of the month he wants to go by. Cage beat him with a spear. It went about 5 minutes too long for my taste. And then after the bell, they showed a recap of that gruesome injury from Cash getting gashed open on the ring post last week. Dax cut a good promo, basically vowing revenge on PNP. We had Tony Schiavone bringing out baby heel Britt Baker for a promo. She got out maybe like 2 lines before Red Velvet interrupted her. Velvet basically laid out a challenge to Britt for the belt. Britt scoffs, says that she beat Velvet in 3 minutes, to which Velvet responds with, "That's when I was enhancement talent." Yes, she actually said that. And long story short, they bickered, they set up a match for Pittsburgh next week, a show that I unfortunately will not be able to attend. Got that overnight graveyard shift. Britt's great, though. I mean, she's totally miscast as a heel, but most of the marks in AEW are the ones that are sitting there saying faces and heels don't exist anyway, so I guess it doesn't matter all that much. We had another Andrade Chavo skit. They beat up some luchador in a mask. Wasn't all that eventful. Then we had Hangman Page come out for a promo. Once again, Hangman lets out all but a breath before getting interrupted. Can you just let dudes talk? These people need to watch some NWA Saturday Night tapes. See how promos actually used to be effectively conducted. So out come the Elite, all looking like conflicted high school teeny boppers. They said a bunch of words. Basically, it was an argument as to whether or not Paige could sit at the cool kids table at lunch. And I was starting to feel bad about my comments about the Elite being teeny boppers. And then they played the Elite's theme music, and I felt that I was rightfully validated. Anyway, they beat up Paige, left them laying. I presume we're intended to believe that they're trying to phase Paige off of TV right now while they set up Omega versus Christian Cage. And, I mean, if that's where they want to go, fine. I like the idea of the match. I also know that there's a certain level of expectation that AEW fans have when it comes to matches on this show. And, if the idea is to main event their all-out show with Omega Cage, ugh. Yeah, I know there's going to be a handful of AEW fans out there that are not going to be too happy with that idea. We'll see, though. I mean, they could just blow it off on Dynamite. Lee Johnson versus Miro for the TNT title. Another match that I don't really have a whole lot to say about. Miro killed him, beat him with a camel clutch. It was fine. I definitely enjoyed Miro's match with Pillman Jr. a couple weeks ago more. That all said, I definitely approve of this Miro character as opposed to the Mickey Mouse video game playing goofball that showed up on Dynamite last September. They announce, and this is no joke here, people, a 4-man announce team for the first episode of Rampage. 4 men. This crew will apparently consist of Excalibur, Taz, Chris Jericho, and Mark Henry. Man. Oh, hey, fuck. I mean, you're paying all these people. Gotta have them do something, right? We had a cringeworthy backstage interview with Shivani and Christian, the extent of which amounted to Christian horribly singing the Golden Girls theme, putting over Layla Hirsch, and declaring that he was elite. The Bunny versus legit Layla Hirsch. Never seen a Layla Hirsch match before, so this is a first viewing experience of what she has going on. Well, she's green. She's also extraordinarily tiny, but she's intense. She doesn't have a wacky character. She doesn't have purple or blue hair. I think she's got potential. I don't think she did herself any favors by coming out with whatever that group's called, the Best Friends, but, we can look past that. Match was not very good, but it was all just to set up Hirsch going over so that she can face, yes, Not the AEW Women's World Champion at a later date, but the NWA Women's World Champion, Camille. All right, then. By the way, Chris Statlander and Nyla Rose had a Mexican standoff at one point. Nothing ever came of it. Anyway, Camille had a stalemate with Layla. She towered over her by at least 2 entire feet. Of course, she had heels on to create the illusion that she was a real-life Godzilla, but it was a cool visual. I've watched several Camille matches in NWA. Personally, I kind of preferred when she was Nick Aldis's mute muscle, but then again, when you're AEW and you can afford to sign pretty much everyone you want, it's only a matter of time before, you get your hands on a Thunder Rosa or a Serena Deeb. So they did what they had to do. They did a quick rundown for the card next week. Of course, this is where they corrected themselves by saying that MJF is apparently not going to be the guest ref next week, but that he was merely going to be ringside with Wardlow, which is significantly dumber if you are MJF trying to avoid wrestling Chris Jericho. Like, why would you not be assigning yourself as the special guest ref in that match? Would you not want to ensure that you could screw Jericho over at every possible turn? Can't think of a more surefire way to screw the guy over than making yourself an untouchable official, but I don't know. I can just hear all the AEW defenders coming at me right now saying, well, MJF is a heel. He's supposed to be stupid. No, I do not accept that. And by the way, I have no idea why AEW defenders sound like Johnny Ace in my book, but there you go. And in our main event, Malachi Black versus Cody Rhodes. This was, pretty much what it needed to be. They wrestled for a couple minutes. The big spot here was Black giving Cody a running knee while Cody was climbing to the top turnbuckle. Cody then goes sailing through a conveniently placed table ringside. And Cody gets back in the ring to break the count. He's wobbling around a little bit. And Black just wrecks Cody with a black mass and pins him. And then after the bell, Shivani tries to go down and interview Cody. Doc Samson gave him a crutch to help him get up to his feet. He starts delving into a promo about getting into wrestling when he was 15, talks about starting AEW and how people mocked and laughed at them. Says that this is basically a platform for anyone and everyone to make a name for themselves now, blah, blah, blah. Just standard Cody Rhodes kowtowing. And he teases some sort of fake retirement deal, takes off one of his boots, and Black comes back to the ring, lays out Cody with a crutch, and that was basically how the show ended. Like I said, segment was good. Did what it needed to do. If Cody's going to go away for a while, this is definitely what they needed to accomplish to write him off. Or if the idea is that this is to set up a rematch for All Out and then write Cody off of TV, then I could see that as well. I know a lot of people are suspecting that they put Black over strong here just so they can have Cody John Cena his way back into the pay-per-view and get the win back. And, yeah, that wouldn't surprise me if that's what they end up doing. I mean, it's pretty much what they did with Brody Lee last year with the TNT title. But, if Cody's got other projects he's working on and they need an excuse to get him off TV for a while, I could definitely see them booking the rematch for All Out and then maybe add some kind of stipulation to it to have Black decimate Cody. That way you could spend some time building up to a third match where Cody gets the win back, but, let Malachi rack up some wins before you just go jobbing him out and making him look like just another guy. I mean, there's a number of ways they could go with this, but we'll see what they do. I did mention this in my most recent video on the ranking NXT call-ups. Check that video out if you have not done so already. It's on YouTube, and it's also on my Rumble page. I was a big fan of Aleister Black in NXT. He's definitely someone that really stood out from the pack, and while I've never really gotten the whole goth deal in professional wrestling, I know there's a lot of characters that like to emanate that stuff. Black was at least a legitimate athlete that I could take seriously. And, like I mentioned in the video too, the great thing about Black in NXT was that he barely ever lost. I believe his only two NXT blemishes were to Gargano and Ciampa. And other than that, I do not recall him ever losing a single match on that show. I mean, he's honestly what Darby Allin is for a lot of people, but Black at least has size and mic skills. And, I knew for a fact that when Vince got a hold of him, he was just never going to know what to do with that guy on the main roster. And lo and behold, look what happened. So now he's basically free to control his own character. And I mean, the dude's over. So I think the mystique will start to come back. Overall, I thought AEW was fine. Take out the main event, it probably would have been a different story, but I was not offended watching this show like I was with the main event on NXT, so that's at least a step up. And that is your report for NXT and AEW this week. Thanks for tuning in. As previously mentioned, I am trying to build this channel from scratch, which I know is a tough task with the way YouTube algorithms work in 2021, but I would appreciate all the support that I can get. Please leave a comment, give this video a thumbs up if you don't mind, and make sure you hit that subscribe button and click the bell icon to stay notified of video content on here in the future. Right now, I'm still trying to develop some kind of feasible, consistent scheduling so that, if I get lucky enough to garner some attention, I can at least have a set day where people can tune in to see new content. I think going forward for the short term, I'm going to keep reviewing NXT and AEW programs. I'll definitely be picking up on Rampage as part of the review series when that begins because I want to see what they do with that show. I may need to do a separate review video for that show, though, because ideally I would like to have the NXT and Dynamite shows together as one review video, so I can upload it on either Friday or Saturday. As for other content, I'm still working on it. Initially, when I started this channel, my intention was to delve into news coverage, but I think the problem a lot of time with that is that the news bulletins just kind of turn into speculation pieces instead of actual reporting. So it's like, while I was actually talking about wrestling news, a lot of it just felt opinion-based and didn't feel like I was really reporting on anything. Just, here's a potential story that could go somewhere, and a lot of the time it just didn't work out. So, maybe I could replace that with topical videos. I'll see. I mean, if anyone has suggestions, let me know. Or if you'd rather just hear me complain about wrestling programs, I can do that too. Anything that sparks interest in the wrestling community now, I would totally be on board to throw my 2 cents in. The other thing too, I just kind of thought about this. If you guys have suggestions too on how I should do video formats going forward, let me know. I mean, I've not really been a huge fan of like the webcam viewing experience to review shows. I know some people are kind of ambivalent about it. Some people like strictly audio. Some people like the visual of seeing my face or seeing people's faces while they talk about wrestling. If it's something that seems more appealing or interesting, I can experiment with that a little bit. I mean, it wouldn't be too much different from what I'm doing now. You would just get a screen capture of my ugly face. But, like I said, some people go different ways. Some people are okay with audio. Some people want the video. So, let me know what appeals to you. I definitely want to try and make the formatting of these videos look as pleasing as possible. So, if that's a direction that people think I should go, I'm all for it. Also, real quick, before I go, make sure you guys check out my Rumble page. The link for that is on my main channel banner, and I'll also make sure it's in the description, the link below. I'm going to be uploading this content on YouTube, but I'm also going to be uploading duplicates onto my Rumble page, just in the case that YouTube flags my videos for any reason. I don't foresee it happening anytime soon, but you never know. They've been cracking down on a lot of people lately for content, so I just want to have a backup option for my videos in case something like that happens. And with that all said, if you stuck through and checked the video out and you liked what you saw, I appreciate it. Like I said, any support that you guys can give me, like, comment, subscribe, everything, all the standards and practices, I would greatly appreciate it. So I will be back next week for sure with NXT and AEW. If I can find something else to talk about in the meantime, I will try to get another video uploaded early next week, but we will see. Thanks again, and enjoy the rest of your weekend.